Okay, we're talking about our little factoring view. I hope you can see this okay. Here's x squared plus 12x plus 3. I look here at the plus symbol. Anytime I've got a plus, I'm looking for, I'm sorry, that's 32, people. Okay. X squared plus 12x plus 32. When I see the plus, I'm looking for the sum of the factors that make 32. So I want to see if it was a plus times plus or a negative times negative. So you look at the middle term and the sign is positive. So I know x times x gets me x squared, and I know I'm going to go plus times plus to get this plus here. So what are the factors of 32? 1 and 32, the sum of that is 33. 2 and 16 is 14. 3 does not go in. 4 and 8, 32. And there's your 12, 4 and 8. Okay? So I've got 4 plus 8. So that would be x times x. When we FOIL it out, x squared. My outer is plus 8x. My inner is plus 4x. And then I've got 4 times 8 is 32 positive. And here's your 12x. Okay, which is right there. Okay? 12x. All right? Use a darker pen. I think this might help out. This red doesn't show up that great. All right, so here's x squared minus 18x plus 32. Again, it's a plus there. So I'm looking for the sum of the factors of 32. And here I see it's a negative. Because remember, a negative times a negative equals a positive. All right? So I know x times x gets me x squared. I know because this is positive and this is negative, it comes from a negative times a negative. And what are the factors of, here's this, I'm looking for the factors of 32 that add up to negative 18. 1 and 32 is 33. 2 and 16 is 18. And there we have it. 2 and 16 give me 18. So here I'll put in a 2 and a 16. And notice I've got x squared, I've got a negative 2x, and a minus 16x in my outer and inner. That's my negative 18x. And then I've got negative 2 times negative 16 is plus 32. Okay? All right, let's look at this other one now. Now I've got my last term is negative. Okay? So I've got an x times x gets me x squared, but now this time I've got a negative, and that's only, you only get that with a plus times a minus. So I'm looking for not the sum anymore, I'm looking for the difference of the factors of 24. So 24, what would be made from 1 and 24? Difference of 23. 2 and 14, difference of 12. 3 and 8, difference of 5. Bingo, there it is. Okay, so 3 and 8 are my factors. I take the bigger number, will go with the sign. The sign of the middle term is a negative, so the bigger number 8 goes with the negative. It wins out. So to form that middle term, I've got a 3x and a negative 8x, which is negative 5x. And this times this, negative 24. Okay. And finally, I've got the same type situation. I've got x squared plus 2x minus 24. I've got an x times an x. Okay? And then I've got a plus times a minus because this is a negative. I'm looking for the difference of factor, the difference of 24 now. The difference of the factors of 24 will form to get me plus 2x. 1 and 24, no. 2 and 12, no. 3 and 8, the difference is 5. And 4 and 6, bingo, the difference is 2. Okay? So my middle term is positive. So the bigger number 6 is going to go with the positive, and the other number 4 goes here. Okay? All right, there's the factoring. In this case, 4 would be the 0 here, because 4 minus 4 is 0. Negative 6 would be the 0 here. All right. Let's take a look at this problem here. We're going to work on it tomorrow in class. This right here, we can't simplify this numerator because 7's prime and there's no common factors, so we have to kind of just factor it. I'll do it the trial and error method. There's as many as 6 different ways I can kind of do this trial and error. The one good thing is 7a times a is the only way we can get 7a. And I'm not going to switch that a times 7a. Let's just leave the 7 here and the a here. But there's a couple ways to get 4. 1 times 4 or 2 times 2. And I can also have the plus here or the minus here or switch it. So I've got 7a plus 1a, I'm sorry, 7a plus 1 times a minus 4. Okay, and then down here I've got 7a minus 1 times a plus 4. Because it matters which one, you know, this is going to be 28, but it's positive, this is negative 28. Over here, I kept the plus minus the same, but I swapped the 4 and the 1. And here, I keep the minus plus the same, but I swap the 4 and the 1. And here, we have less options because it's just 2 and 2, okay? So I've got 7a plus 2, I've got 2 times 2, and here I just swap the positive and negative. So there's 6 different ways I can work this, but only one's going to work. 7a times a is 7a squared. We're worried about the middle term. It needs a positive 12, okay? This will be negative 28. I'm going to do outer and inner. Negative 28a and plus a is not it. I've got outer of negative 7a and an inner of plus 4a. That is not it. Remember, we're trying to get 12a. That's the middle term. Okay? Here I've got a 28a, so right away that's not going to be it. The 7a times plus 4, 28a minus a, that's not going to work. Here I've got 7a minus 4a equals 3a, that's not it. So we come down here, I believe this is going to be at 7a times, I'm sorry, we got 7a times that's 14a, and the inner is minus 2a, that's 12a. So here's our factoring, okay, 12a. So it took us, but we did it. Okay, 7a minus 2, a plus 2. I did all these different combinations, but notice everything's plus, minus, minus, plus to get this negative here. Okay. The denominator. Oh, I'm sorry. Before I go on, I've got 7 minutes. We can do the grouping technique the way we don't have to mess around. It's very scientific, and there's no trial and error. I take the leading coefficient times the constant, and I get negative 28. Since this is a negative, I'm looking for the factors of negative 28, whose difference is going to be what? 12. Okay? So here's negative 28. I go 1 and 28. The difference is 27. That's not it. And I go 2 and 14. The difference is 12. So there it is. These are the two middle terms. These two factors are going to form like we have here, like this. These are the factors that combine to get the middle term. So they're both going to have an a associated with them. It's going to be 2a and 14a. Remember, our middle term is 12a, so it needs to be a positive 12a. So I'm going to make it's the difference of these factors. Remember, we've got a negative 4, so I'm going to have a try not to go all the way around. I'm going to have, when I factor this, I'm going to have a plus. When I go up here, when I factored it, I had what? A minus plus or plus minus, okay? All right. So let's go back. We had the factors of leading coefficient times the constant, okay, which is negative 28, 7 times negative 4. We went down all the factors whose difference will give me a 12a. Plus 12 is what we're looking for, okay? Factors of negative 20 whose difference is plus 12. And we got 2 times 14. We'll make the 14 positive, make that 14a, and make the 2 negative, and make that negative. So this will get the negative, this will get the positive. Now as far as grouping goes, this first time it's really going to matter where I put the 14 and the negative 2. Okay? I'm going to notice how I've kind of worked this out already. I want these two things to combine to get to 12a, which they will. Notice 14a minus 2a is going to get my 12a. But notice how I put the 14 with the 7, because they will factor out. 7 is common. Because the 2, if I had them switched around, the 2 and the 7 wouldn't factor out at all, okay? And we'd be in a mess, all right? It wouldn't work. And the 14 and the 4 would have a common factor, but we need the 14 here because of the 7 and the 14, okay? So I'm grouping this group together and this group together. Okay? So I look for common factors for this group, which is going to be, they each have a 7 and they each have an a. So I factor out, divide out a 7a. What's left is a plus 2. 7a times a is 7a squared. 7a times 2 is 14a. And here, remember, I want this to be over here in the parentheses. So I'm going to factor out this negative 2, and what's left is an a. And if I divide negative 4 by negative 2, I've got plus 2. Okay? So notice I've got a plus 2, which is times this, and it's also times this. If I factor, the common factor here is a plus 2, so it's a plus 2 times 7a and minus 2. So that's a different way of factoring called grouping. All right? So that would be the numerator. The denominator for this is, notice we're going to have a, first thing we look for is a common factor, 3, 3, and 3 goes into negative 12 and negative 12. So I factor out that and I'm left with this. Notice my leading coefficient here is 1 and here's negative 4. So remember, I do my the P over Q are the factors of 4 over 1 plus or minus, which could be the factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4, and the factors of 1 are 1. So my possible zeros are 1 over 1, 2 over 1, or 4 over 1 over 1. So it's 1, 2, and 4 plus or minus. And I start off with synthetic division. Okay, I've already divided out the 3, so I've got 1, 1, negative 4, negative 4, 1, 1, negative 4, negative 4. Let's see if 1 is a 0. It's not. I try negative 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. 0, 0 combined, and negative 1 times negative 4 is 4. Bingo. That means what? X plus 1 is a factor. Now some of you, remember, I'm not going back to this. I've just divided this. I know this is a factor, and this is what's left over. X squared plus 0x minus 4, okay? All right, which is really x squared minus 4, which is a perfect square, which is going to be x plus 2 times x minus 2. But anyway, here's me doing synthetic division with, start with 2 and so on, and you can continue on. I want you to do the rest, okay? So that's 12 minutes, but that'll be this problem right here tomorrow. That's the one. And finally, remember, is just as far as, where's this one I wanted to work? Number 4 here. Remember, we're going to change this and flip this around and factor, okay? All right, so that's all I'm going to do with that. I think we're pretty good. There's 12 minutes. So remember, I'm going to change this to m minus 2 over m plus 2 times m squared plus 5m plus 6 over m plus 3. And this is very easy to factor and cancel out. Remember, division is changes to multiplication and flip. All right, that's it, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.